Priya Sapra. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me just get my camera situated, right? All right. Let's see. Welcome, y'all. This is the free astrotheology course. I don't have it the way I want it. Maybe I'm just going to have to settle. All right. So this is the free astrotheology course, all right? So here is our book, The Gospel and the Zodiac. The Gospel and the Zodiac, all right? The Secret Truth about JC the Christ Figure by Bill Darrell-El. Okay? So here we are. Hold on, y'all. Let's see. 1 second. I'm trying to move away from this other table. They just started playing a game. Grown men playing video games. What? I don't understand that, but okay. All right. So hopefully we can make some ground, cover some ground rather, toward closing out the forgotten language of the stars. Okay. All right. So we're on page 46, a new subheading already. We have, maybe we can do this because it doesn't look like a lot to cover here, but we still, when I get to my laptop, I still have to go back and do the subheading on the number 7. All right, so we still have to do the number 7, but subheading 7. But hopefully we can finish the subheading that we're on right now, which is the relevance of this approach. All right, so I don't have to explain it. It's pretty self-explanatory, so let's go through it. All right, page 46. The strength of any theory lies only in its ability to provide answers to previously intractable questions. All right, so the quality of your theory is going to be demonstrated by whether or not it will answer questions that were previously unknown, where the answers to the questions were either unknown or they were not good answers or sufficient answers, right? So let's continue. I hope in the following chapters, now we've covered all of those chapters. That's the chapters covering the 12 zodiacs. We've covered them. So in the following chapters, I hope in the following chapters to show how a number of problems generated by the historical or quasi-historical approach to Mark cease to be troublesome. So what is the author saying right here? He's saying that people have looked at Mark historically as though JC the Christ figure was a real live person. He actually walked on the earth. Okay, so that's the historical, and then quasi-historical means, well, he walked on the earth, but maybe the miracles were not true. Or maybe some other aspect of JC's life or ministry was not true. All right? Or maybe they have a different meaning, but they're definitely not literal. But he did live in human form and walked on the earth. That's what he's talking about. All right? So I hope in the following chapters to show a number of problems generated by the historical or quasi-historical approach to Mark cease to be troublesome. Among these are, so if JC was a real flesh and blood man or hybrid, and he actually lived on the earth, if you go by that historical approach, well, you got some problems, some big problems. And here they are. The author listed them in bullet points. So number one of these troublesome problems. Number one, the reason why Mark does not begin the gospel with infancy narratives. So we know that in Matthew, the book of Matthew, Gospel of Matthew, we see Christ being born in a manger. That's what he's talking about with these infancy narratives. So I'm assuming that Matthew, Luke, and John, I don't remember about Luke, whether they have the story in the manger or infancy narrative or not. Y'all have to go check it. But this is what the author is talking about. So why, if Mark is the first gospel, why doesn't Mark have that story about JC being born in a manger or when JC was an infant? Why is that not there? Mark is the first gospel. Matthew and Luke were to have supposedly based their gospels off of Mark's gospel. So that's the first problem. Why isn't there an infancy story in there? Okay, problem number two, bullet point number two. Why Mark has two feeding stories very close together. Okay? Mark has two feeding stories. And I believe he's talking about the one where JC fed the people with, fed 5,000 people, and then shortly after that, he fed 4,000 people. I believe this is what they're talking about. Let me go back to it. So here, this is on page 46. It says, for example, the feeding of 5,000 and the feeding of 4,000 occur in what I have called the Cancer section of Mark's Gospel. Y'all see that? So two feeding sections occur in the Cancer section of Mark's Gospel. Okay, so that is problematic, right? Because clearly it's not two in the other Gospels. So why is it two in Mark's? But you must keep in mind that Mark's Gospel is supposed to be the first Gospel. You should also remember that he fed the people with two fish, that's Pisces. He fed them with chaos, deception, and duplicity. That's Pisces, right? Pisces, two fish. He fed the people with a chaotic or a doctrine that causes chaos, a doctrine that is duplistic. It has dual and even triple meanings. Does everyone see the point there? Pisces, one fish is going either front and the other is going back. They're going in opposite directions. Okay, so two people who are in close relations, imagine that, a man and a woman, they're in close relations. Let's say they have a relationship, okay? And heirs, they have a relationship and heirs. But she's going this way and he's going that way. What type of family life is that gonna be? Y'all see what I mean? She says up, he says down. There's no clear leader. See what I mean? That's Pisces. Duality. The text means one thing for the masses. Y'all know the dogma. But in the inner house, those parables mean something completely different. So it has two meanings. That's duplistic. Duality, duplistic. So he fed the people with duplistic parables, with duplicity. I didn't say it. JC himself said it. The apostle says, why are you telling the people this information in parables? They don't understand you. And what did Christ say? He said, I'm speaking in parables to them so that they will never have a chance to understand, right? So that they'll always hear and not understand, or something like that. And so that, and if they did understand, they'd have a chance to repent and be saved. Okay? So Christ, JC, the Christ figure, came out talking a good game. This is what's meant by duplicity. But in fact, when he went into the inner house, he told his 12 apostles, those who were there with him, that the masses of people were not to understand the mysteries, the secrets of the kingdom of the heavens. Y'all got that? That's why you will often hear people who are educated on these matters, you'll hear them say, the masses get dogma. The masses get dogma. And the people in the inner house, they get the real spiritual wisdom. Or they get the real natural law. Put it like that. That's probably easier to understand. Okay? This is where the concept of secret societies comes in. Specifically, people, it appears that the Gnostics have the secret meaning, or the secret, they have the answers to the mysteries of the kingdom of the heavens, because they are the secret society members. They are in the inner house. Is that clear, y'all? Is it clear? That would include your Catholics and other secret society members as they progress in the ranks, right? Because you don't come in and they tell you everything. You're just an initiate. You believe the dogma, but as you move up in ranks or in degree, and I'm getting this from The Devil's Pulpit by Robert Taylor, as you move up in degree, you get to know the mysteries of the kingdom of the heavens. Those parables get explained to you, and eventually they will tell you that the whole gospel story, JC never lived, it is a myth, so on and so forth. But my point is, JC fed the people with a doctrine that causes division, chaos, and confusion, and that it is duplistic. It talks a good game about morality, but it's actually corrupting the morals of the people. Y'all don't believe that? You don't know what I'm talking about? Go back and watch all the videos that I've done. Look at the content, and I got this from The Devil's Pulpit. The link to the free PDF is in the description area of this video. Y'all can download it, read it yourself. Read it yourself. The story, the parable about the unrighteous judge, right? That the old lady came for looking for justice. That's a perversion of justice. What happened there? About the steward, the unrighteous steward, right? Who gave away his employer's wealth to benefit himself, so that when he was out of a job, right, those people who he helped would then help him. But it goes on and on and on. All right, with examples of that. But anyway, and then so he fed the people with 2 fish. That's Pisces, the zodiac sign Pisces. Remember, chaos, confusion, duplicity, doctrines or scriptures that have double meanings, speaking in parables. But he doesn't tell you the real meaning of the parable, but you get the religion part, you get the dogma, you get screwed basically, right? All right? And what? And 5 loaves. Was it 2 fish and 5 loaves? Right? So Pisces and Virgo. So in other words, what is Virgo? Let me remember. Let me get this right before I open my mouth. Let me make sure that my thoughts are right about Virgo. Hold on. See, actually, there's an easy way to do this. Once you understand the natural law that's involved in the zodiac sign. Okay. For example, let's talk about the principle of polarity. So at one extreme, you have one extreme, and then you have the other extreme. So at one extreme, there's what? Chaos, confusion, and duplicity, right? Well, that's a liar, right? That's disorder, so on and so forth. So at the opposite end of that extreme, you should find the zodiac sign that represents the exact opposite. of duplicity, chaos, and disorder, etc., etc., okay? So this is how, when you understand the natural laws, you can then begin to deal with the meanings of the zodiac signs and their relationships. But let me find this, y'all. Give me 1 second. Now I'm curious because I forgot. So it's okay to forget. Let me make sure I get this right. I'm looking for the zodiac wheel. Where is the zodiac wheel? I don't even remember where the zodiac wheel is. Hold on. Give me a second. I'll find it. So if I remember correctly, it's Virgo at the other extreme, but I just don't remember right. But I'm going to show y'all how to work with this, if I can find the wheel. If I don't find the wheel, oh well. Oh, I remember. Hold on. Pisces. Pisces is at the end of the chapter. I don't know why I didn't remember that. So here we are. So here's Pisces. Y'all see how to do it? Just draw a line straight down. Okay? Draw a line straight down. That tells you what's at the opposite end. So since we're dealing with the law of polarity, all you need to do is use your logic to determine what the characteristics are of that zodiac sign. And here you see, y'all, is Virgo. See Virgo? And there's the motif or the glyph for Virgo. Y'all got it? See that? So let me show it again before we do this so y'all can know how to do it yourself. All right, so here we are, Pisces, draw a line straight down. That's Virgo. That glyph is Virgo, okay? Now remember, the law of polarity is at work here, clearly, right? How do we know? Because this is one extreme of a straight line. This is the other extreme of a straight line. So there's a different natural law that governs the relationship between the zodiac signs that are side by side to each other, okay? Y'all see that? Right? But let's stick right here, the natural law or the principle of polarity. So let's go to Virgo. Let's go to Virgo real quick. And hopefully y'all will remember how to do this, or if you don't remember, at least you've been exposed to it, right? At least you've been exposed to it. And next time you see it, you may remember it. Right now, I just want to introduce you to the concept, the natural law of polarity. So here we are. Y'all see Virgo? You see the glyph? The Virgo glyph right here. Y'all see that? If you were to draw a line straight down, it would go to Pisces. So here's Virgo. Now do y'all see why JC is born of a virgin? This is one reason why JC is born of a virgin, in my opinion. But there's another one too. But I'll get to that maybe a little later. Or maybe even now. So let's take a look at this, y'all. Virgo and Mercury. So I'm going to just read through the characteristics of Virgo, okay? Give me 1 second. All right. Okay, so Mary's Virgo qualities, I'm on page 132, can be found in the Gospel of Luke, where she is portrayed as the handmaid. Now, y'all should remember handmaid. That's a really, really important concept. Handmaid. If you go into the devil's pulpit, you'll understand why. All right? It has an astrological significance. Where Mary is portrayed as the handmaid of the capital Lord. That's Luke chapter 1, verse 38. one who embodies the great virtues of humility, okay, service, and self-effacement. Millennius gives the picture of this aspect of the Virgo nature. So let me skip past that. But one of these is honesty. Okay, so one of them is honesty. All right? Honesty, modesty. Okay? Honesty and modesty. Let's see what else. So hold on. Passive, practicality, adaptability, variableness. Let me see. Let's see what else. See, these are in contrast to Pisces, right? Hold on. Give me 1 second. All right, so let me go to the front. I'm on page 130 now. Okay, so Virgo is associated with birth and children. Virgo is associated with birth and children. Virgo is the starting point of any spiritual journey. All right, the starting point of any spiritual journey. That implies good, right? That implies good. But Pisces is all bad, y'all. Pisces is conflict, opposition, and duality. Let's say worldly, whereas Virgo is the beginning of the spiritual journey. Virgo is good. Y'all see that? Pisces is evil, deceitful, deceptive, treacherous. Y'all see it? But Virgo, it says the association of Virgo with birth and children. Now, at the other end of that, we can say Pisces can be associated with the opposite, right? With death. And that's what we find, right? Civil leader mortuus. Civil death, and what other kind of death? Death through war and other forms of violence that Christianity is known for. Do you see how to work this natural law, this principle of polarity, y'all? Okay, so let's see. The association of Virgo with birth and children makes Virgo, or makes it rather, an appropriate starting point for any symbolic account of the spiritual journey. Y'all see that? Our spiritual life begins not with our natural birth, but with our rebirth. So now, here this is talking about a rebirth that Mary represents. How many of y'all knew that? Which is not brought about by physical urges, you can associate that with Pisces, but by the Spirit of God working with us. So Virgo holy, Pisces evil. Do y'all see the duality? Right? The polarity, the extremes. I should not use the word duality, but you see the extreme opposites, right? Okay. But anyway, let's stop there because that's not my point that I wanted to deal with this. Oh, but by the way, the Jews call Virgo, well, we know that Virgo is the harvest time, right? There we go. Harvest time. Why did I not think of that in the first place? Pisces, that's Christianity. Well, that's actually all of the religion, y'all, but let's focus on Christianity. Pisces is Christianity. Pisces is bondage, maritime law. The law of the sea. You're underwater. What's underwater? The world of the dead, where the Raphaim live. The Oannes, the Raphaim. Y'all think about this. Oannes comes up out of the waters. during the day, right? Dogon comes up out of the sea during the day and he teaches the people law and architecture. What kind of law do you think he's teaching? I would dare to say Admiralty maritime law. He's coming up out of the sea to teach with Babylonian black magic, to teach the people. When I say black magic, I mean magic that's being used in a harmful way. All right, and I'm not talking about magic like you see on TV, not that kind of magic. I'm talking about casting spells and things like this. All right, but he's teaching Admiralty maritime law. Now that's my opinion. You don't have to adopt my opinion, right? Nobody needed to learn natural law. Everybody knew natural law, right? Everybody knew natural law. Our ancestors knew that. Masters of natural law. Oannes in the story comes up teaching the people while standing on the beach with his feet in the water, but he's standing on the beach. The water, let's say, is at his ankles, or maybe even as high as his knees, who knows? And he's teaching the people the sciences, including law, all right? Maritime law, which is what has you, all of the, or not all, but most of the autochthonous Moors in a slave or bondage political status, okay? That's the source of your problem. Christianity is civil death. It is maritime law, all right? But that's not what I want to focus on. Now, you take the civil death. You have lost your nationality. You have no birthrights, no rights. So what does that make you? Genesis chapter 1, cattle, right? That's the labor or the contract of labor. Y'all see that? That is the contract of labor where you need to work just to survive. You need to work. Whereas Virgo is the covenant of grace. What does Virgo have in her hand? The wheat stalk. The wheat stalk. Am I right? Am I getting this wrong, y'all? Let's see. Unless a man is born again, says JC to Nicodemus, he cannot see the kingdom of God. That's John chapter 3, verse 3. The Jews called this harvest. Y'all see that? This is page 130 under Virgo. The Jews called this harvest. All right, so if y'all watching this video on the playback, stop this and read this paragraph along with the footnote. The harvest. All right? So the Jews called this the harvest, or called this harvest constellation, okay? Y'all see? Virgo is the harvest constellation. Well, the harvest is the covenant of what? The covenant of grace. The covenant where you relax and you chill and you enjoy your birthright. You sit in your house or under your tree on your land and you drink wine that you got from your own grapevine. You eat fruit, nuts, whatever you want to eat that you got from your own land, from your own farm. And you enjoy it and you kick it and you live it up. You and your consort and your heirs and family and friends or whatever. Okay? Y'all chilling out. You're in the covenant or contract of grace. Do you see the extreme opposites, scholars? This is the law of polarity. The law of work, the contract of work or labor, where you got to work. Right? You got to work. Or as they say, ain't nothing free. Well, it's not free if you're a bondman or bondwoman. If you're in your proper status, right? You know who you are. You're an autochthonous Moor, Genesis chapter 2, right? You have a birthright. You're the heir of all of the land, all of the resources, all of the energy, terrestrial and cosmic, all commerce. You're the beneficiary. Y'all see, you are the beneficiary. You're the people in the Constitution, in the preamble of the Constitution, that Constitution was made to protect and benefit. Not a state citizen, not a U.S. citizen, but you're a people, one of the people, a beneficiary. Okay? Correlate the preamble of the Constitution with Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 1 through 14. Correlate the entire Constitution with that. All right? You should be thinking about diversity of citizenship too. Okay? And what else? The Treaty of Peace and Friendship, because treaties are the supreme law of the land. This is your blessing. But what do you need to do? You need to return to the Most High. You need to start following natural law and give up all religion, religious terminology, religious concepts, religious speak, because when you're talking that religious speak, you are putting yourself, or no, let me repeat that, you demonstrate that you are in the jurisdiction of the Dogon, of maritime law, right? That's what Christianity is. All right, now let's continue. So I hope I made that clear on how to deal with the natural laws in the Zodiac. Okay? So the law or principle of polarity is one of the natural laws. Let's go back to where we were. If y'all understand what I just discussed, put a 1 in the comment section. Communicate with me, let me know if I am being effective with presenting the information in a way that's easy to understand. Okay, point number 2. So let's go back to that. So the second troublesome point or problem, if you think that JC was a real man or hybrid and he actually walked on the earth, is why does Mark have 2 feeding stories very close to each other? So we just went through that and demonstrated the law of polarity, because JC fed the people with 2 fish and 5 loaves. All right, so what did he gave them the carrot and the stick. The carrot and the stick. 2 fish and 5 loaves. If y'all have a different viewpoint, I would love to know what it is. Put it in the chat for me, okay? Let me check it out. And keep in mind, I don't know everything. I don't know everything. I don't pretend to know everything. I'm giving y'all my thoughts, all right? So let's continue. Next bullet point. You got to make your own decisions. Why JC takes a very roundabout route to the Sea of Galilee in Mark chapter 7, verse 31. Now, yeah, I remember we discussed this, y'all. There was a real short way that JC could have went, but he went the long way. Who goes the long way? Especially when you're traveling. And if they're traveling on foot, I mean, it's not like they were traveling in a Lexus, right? Or some other type of comfortable vehicle. Why would they go the long way? But there's there's more to that story. But y'all can read about that at Mark chapter 7, verse 31. But it's also in this book. He covers it in this book. Problematic point number 3. Why the account of the transfiguration at Mark chapter 9, verse 1 through 13, which many scholars have considered a misplaced resurrection story, is in fact in the right place. So what the author is saying here is that the scholars got it wrong. The transfiguration is not a resurrection story, but it is exactly what it says it is, and it is in the right place in the document. Next bullet point. That's a problem. Why JC curses the fig tree. All right, we went through that a couple videos ago. You can read about the fig tree at Mark 11:13. And then why the Last Supper is a Passover meal. Y'all got that? Why the Last Supper is a Passover meal, in spite of the fact that no mention is made of any lamb. Did y'all know that? Did y'all ever think about that, brother? They had bread and wine, right? Bread is Virgo, right? She has the stalks of wheat or corn in her hand. And then wine. Wine is the product of the harvest also. So they were enjoying the harvest, right? That was a covenant of grace. But there was no mention of a Passover lamb at the Last Supper, right? In the religion that I was in, they called it the Lord's evening meal. And instead of Easter, they called it the memorial, Christ memorial. So next problem that the author is hoping to answer by writing this book. All right. So next bullet point or next problem. Why the last? Oh, we already did that. Okay. So now let's continue. I don't see anything in the comment section. Y'all put something in the comment section. I ask y'all to like and share the video. Put something in the comments section. Let me, even if I'm not doing a good job in explaining this and making it clear, put a 2. If I'm doing a good job, put a 1. I can always change my approach. I'm not here for me. I'm here for you. I'm here to help you learn and make it as easy as I can for you guys to learn. Okay, scholars? So let's continue. This approach throws some light on the synoptic problem, i.e., the relationship between the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke. So why not John? That should be the obvious question, right? As we shall see, the common assumption that Mark wrote first and that Matthew and Luke copied from Mark is unattainable. It would seem that a more primitive document, y'all know what that more primitive document is? I'm going to tell y'all. It would seem that a more primitive document, more closely zodiacal than any of the Gospels we now have, preceded the canonical Gospels. Y'all know what that Gospel is? Y'all know what it is? Here's what it is. The first Gospel was written by the Coptic Egyptians in their effort to preserve their knowledge of the cosmos from destruction by the dark priesthood, and that would be the Prince of Darkness that the Devil's Pulpit talks about. Y'all remember that? If y'all don't remember the Prince of Darkness, okay, go back and read the Devil's Pulpit. You'll find it in there. This is who the religionists actually worship, the Christians, etc., who they actually worship. This is the Brotherhood of Saturnalia, or the Brotherhood of Saturn, rather. By Saturnalia, I meant Saturn. The Brotherhood of Saturn. All right, y'all? Clear? So the Coptic Egyptians, in review, wrote an allegorical story using metaphors to hide the knowledge of the cosmos from the Brotherhood of Saturn and other secret society members, but specifically the Catholic Church, because the Catholic Church wanted to destroy all scientific knowledge and to replace it with foolish, ridiculous religious doctrine. that they just made up, right? Christ fed the people with 2 fish, with confusion. Y'all see it? So they encoded a gospel with the knowledge of the cosmos to preserve it for we Moors today. And I'm doing my part, as well as others, to try to bring this astro-theology, this natural law, back into your consciousness, back into your awareness. That's why the Coptic Egyptians preserved it. Okay? So the church put the people in blackness, in a civilly dead state, stripped them of their nationality, and forced them into ignorance from birth unto death. What's the ignorance? Christianity, religious doctrine. Y'all see it? So that was the original gospel was written by the Coptic Egyptians, purely astro-theological. Let me repeat that. It was purely astrological. Then the Europeans got their hands. Now, whether it was the so-called black Europeans or whomever, I don't know. But it went up into Europe, and they got it and made edits to it. They got it and made edits to it, right? They translated it into Latin. And then the Visigoths, the Goths and the Visigoths who allegedly destroyed Rome, they got their hands on it. And y'all know how barbaric they are. And they did a whole world of edits to it. Y'all see? They did a whole bunch of edits to the Gospels. And it is in that form today. But the Visigoths translated it into Greek. They translated it into Greek, and then to hide that its original source was Coptic Egyptian. They said that the original language that it was written in was Greece. Y'all see that? But we know from Latin grammar, i.e. grammar rules, this is the importance of grammar rules, we know from Latin grammar rules that it had to have been written in Latin after or first. So initially, when I say first, I mean the original translation out of Coptic Egyptian, because it has Latin suffixes in certain places. Right? So whoever translated it was lazy with their translation. Clear? Is that clear? So the first original document was Coptic Egyptian. It was later translated into Latin. After Latin, it was translated into Greek. Right? So let's continue. So I would have to agree with the author here. Let me read it again. As we shall see, the common assumption that Mark wrote his gospel first, and that Matthew and Luke copy from him is unattainable. It would seem that a more primitive document, we just discussed that's the Coptic Egyptian document, okay, and or the document that was translated into Latin. See y'all? Okay? It would seem that a more primitive document, more clearly zodiacal. So if it's completely zodiacal, it would have been the document originally, the original gospel prepared by the Coptic Egyptian was pure zodiacal. All right? More clearly, so this more primitive document would have been more clearly zodiacal than any of the gospels that we have now. All right, so that purely zodiacal document preceded the canonical gospels. Okay, that's clear as day. I got this information from the Devil's Pulpit, so you'll go back and read it. The link to the free PDF is in the description area of the video. Now remember, when you go into there, subscribe to my classes or enroll in my classes and buy my books. All right? Don't have me working for free. This is work. Okay? It is work. If you appreciate what I'm doing, support what I'm doing. Okay? Support. That means a lot to me, and that's going to help me to get the finances together so I can rewrite the book of the law in Ancient Ibaryath and modern English, and to put back the natural law and to remove all of the deceptions. So let's keep going. However, more important than any of the above, I hope to be able to make the gospel story relevant to contemporary people. That implies, y'all, that the gospel story has become irrelevant. That is to say that the preachers and teachers in Christianity have been ineffective or even abusive. So the Gospels are irrelevant, right? In other words, you'll hear people say, well, that stuff happened a long time ago. What does it have to do with today? What does it have to do with making my life better now? Okay. For too long, the debate has centered on the historicity of the Gospel accounts. In other words, did JC actually live? And this has brought about a polarization of opinion, which has tended to obscure the value of the Gospels. Both sides, literalist and liberal, have rejected the poetic dimension. Y'all got that? So, there is a group that says we have to look at these documents as being literal. There's another group that says, well, we look at some of it as literal, but some of it is metaphorical. But then there's a third that the author is saying there's a poetic dimension. There's a poetic way of looking at the Gospels. All right? So let's continue. But as Schopenhauer reminds us, history is the antithesis of poetry. History concerns only individual things. Poetry concerns universal truths. By structuring his story on the Zodiac, Mark has given it a cosmic dimension. His hero is an individual, like Abraham and Moses, but his message is universal. The zodiacal way is the way we all must travel in the spiritual life. Y'all remember the Christians were called followers of the way, right? Christians were called followers of the way, and the Zodiac is the way. Remember that, y'all? The Zodiac is the way, the Mazzaroth. We went through that a couple videos ago. So let's continue. The zodiacal way is the way we must all travel in the spiritual life. Now remember, Virgo is said to be the beginning of the spiritual journey. Clear? Clear? And oh, by the way, there's a relationship between what we're talking about now and the Sphinx. So Virgo is the head of the Sphinx. It is a female's head, or a woman's head, right? Should not say female. Male and female refer to animals, y'all. Men and women are masculine and feminine. Autochthonous Moors are masculine and feminine, right? So any hybrid or animal is male or female, which is probably what, not probably, I'm certain of it, which is why they want you to tick whether you are a male or female. They're getting you to admit that you are chattel, an animal, when you fill out applications, okay? Y'all see that? So the Sphinx at that time was the first constellation. In other words, the new year began in Virgo. And then the lion, Leo, was the last constellation that ended the Virgo, so that ended the zodiac sign. So Virgo was the first. Yeah, mosquito almost. But anyway, sorry y'all. Virgo was the first zodiac, and then Leo was the 12th. So you had the Sphinx head, right? Feminine, Virgo, and then the body, a lion. Okay, Leo. So the beginning of the zodiac, number 1, Virgo, and then the end of the zodiac is the lion. Okay, so the Sphinx, again, the head is Leo, that's astrological, and the body is the last zodiac, which is what? Leo at that time. And from the ground to the top of the Sphinx, 66 feet. 6 plus 6 is 12, 12 zodiac signs. Clear? All right. Let's continue. Mark has given a cosmic dimension, so we already covered that. Okay, so the zodiacal way is the way we must all travel the spiritual life. I'm not going to talk about spiritual anymore. I want to get through this. Y'all should know the spiritual is a word that wants to get you to trigger or activate your imagination, to get you to transport yourself into the narrative, to participate, or in order to brainwash yourself. Okay? Spiritual in Hebrew is breath. Okay? So this is saying the breath of life, right? But let's continue, which doesn't make any sense, right? But let's continue. JC may have walked the road before us. JC may have walked the road before us. What is it saying? The sun, the S-U-N, the disk in the sky has walked the road. What's the road? The Mazarah, the Zoad. In other words, the sun. In my Father's abode, there are many mansions. In my Father's abode, there are many dwelling places. In space, there are many constellations. So the sun enters a different constellation each month of the year. So yes, there are many dwelling places, 12 constellations. Y'all see what I'm trying to say? So yes, JC is the sun, right? The S-O-N is the S-U-N. JC may have walked the road before us if you look at it from a natural phenomena point of view. But they're not looking at it like that. Let's continue. As far as Mark is concerned, he does not walk it on our behalf. In other words, you on your own, you got to handle your own problems, right? You got to walk through this life on your own. Clear? Let's continue. JC's not going to do it for you. All right. Mark tells us that we must take up the cross and follow JC. That's Mark chapter 10, verse 21. We have to drink the same cup and be baptized with the same baptism. So we have to take up the cross and follow JC. Y'all know when the sun is descending, when it is falling, and then it falls below the celestial equator. This is Christ crucified. That's Christ crucified. When the sun falls below, this is the celestial equator. This is the summer solstice, right? The sun is at its highest point in the sky, in the northerly part of space. Nowhere that cannot go up anymore. Only way to go is down. You see that? And eventually it's going to reach the level of the celestial equator, which is a projection of Earth's equator out into space. It crosses below. The sun has now been crucified. This is Christ crucified. That's Christ crucified, the natural phenomena, all right? Christ crucified. But you got to carry your own cross. Now remember, Christ was never crucified. He escaped. Christ escaped. It was Simon of Cyrene who most likely was crucified. But for sure enough, Christ escaped. This is Pisces. This is duplicity, trickery, treachery. But yet, they are telling you to pick up your torture stake and follow the Christ. You, in your innocence, you think that Christ died on a cross to save you, where in fact, Christ actually made his escape, and Christ also said that he spoke to the crowds in parables so that you might not understand what he's saying and therefore have a chance to repent and be saved. This is duplicity at its highest level. You've been played, my friend. The joke's on you. But now that you know this information, you can handle your business, exit Christianity. That means get back in honor. You are in dishonor if you are a Christian, or if you are a Hebrew Israelite Christian, you are in dishonor. All you need to do is get rid of that religious stuff, return to nature, harmonize, vibrate with nature. That is what is literally returning to the Most High, because the Most High's commandments are natural law. Go back and check it. Let's continue, scholars. Mark tells us that we must take up the cross and follow JC. What a hypocrite. What a hypocrite. JC escaped off, he escaped. Let an innocent man be tortured, crucified, beaten on his behalf, and had the nerve to show up the next day talking about he was resurrected. Not the next day, but y'all know the story, 3 days later. Mark tells us that we must, quote unquote, take up the cross and follow JC. We have to drink the same cup. See how hypocritical that is? See how intentionally deceptive that is? That's duplicity. Drink the same cup. JC escaped. Put another man on the cross. Lack of character. All right, so we must drink the same cup. So you need to suffer because you're dumb. You're on the outside of the house. If you're on the inside of the house, you do not need to suffer. Why? You're going to make your escape, and you're going to have one of the common people, one of the bondmen, bondwomen, you're going to put them up on the cross in your stead. Right? And ain't nobody going to know. Because all of the secret society brothers, they're going to keep it a secret and protect you. Same way they did with JC. And be baptized with the same baptism. This is Mark chapter 10, verse 38. If we want the same reward. You're not getting that reward because you are not in the inner house. You're not an apostle. All right? So it ain't for you. JC said it is not for you. So you can hang that up. All right? Forget about it. It's not for you. The apostles died a long time ago. And whoever else was in the house with them, the friends, they also died a long time ago. You're not an apostle. Your place is on the outside to be fed religious doctrine and to be used as a horse, a cow, a chicken, a toad, or anything else. Right? That's your status. Civil leader mortus. Using timeless metaphors drawn from the zodiacal circle. The Mazarah, the Zoad, or the Zod, Z-O-A-D. Is it the Zod? Yeah. Mark has given us a textbook of the spiritual life, a life lived in harmony with the universe. Y'all hear that? A life lived in harmony with the universe. That means a life lived in harmony with natural law. A life of holiness. Wholeness. Holiness and wholeness. What is he talking about? He's talking about being honorable, not harming anybody, which can only be attained with great effort and at great personal cost. In other words, you have to make changes not only to stop operating at the lower self level, which can be extremely difficult for a lot of people because a lot of people have addictions. Substance addictions like drugs and alcohol, right? Like drugs and alcohol. In my opinion, anything that would cause early sickness or death. But then there's what? There's also thinking. You know, how you think. How you think. There's the educational aspect of it. Are you mastering the sciences? Are you making efforts to master the sciences? Linguistics, law, physics, mathematics, whatever. Start wherever you want to. Okay? But you need to understand nature, cosmology, astronomy, whatever. All right, let's continue. So, oh yes, thank you. So being honorable is very, very important. This is what he's talking about. Holiness and wholeness, which can only be attained with great effort and at great personal cost, right? You may have to spend fiat buying books, taking classes, getting an education from me. I'm Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. It may cost you fiat. It may cost you time, right? You have to rearrange your schedule, give certain things up, give certain people up, let them go. Certain people are unhealthy for you, even blood family or old friends or new friends, women, men. You're going to have to let people go. And you'll be happy you did as you develop. Spend fiat, buy books. I got a book that costs $99. Yeah, I think it's $99. Most people are not willing to pay it. Right? Because why? Lack of appreciation and self-hate. Lack of appreciation for education. Not caring about the topic and your state of mind. You know, self-hate, indifference. But it might cost you that. It can cost you buying my books, for example. Buy a book for each of your heirs in your house. How many of y'all willing to do that? Tell the truth. But yes, there is a cost. How about supporting my project to write the book of the law in Ancient Ibaryath? How many of y'all are willing to do that? But you'll go watch, you go pay for a pay-per-view fight, right? Or you go buy a carton of cigarettes 2-3 times a month, or however much you smoke. Y'all see what I'm saying? Education cost. It comes at great cost, right? So you change your schedule. You need to cut some people off, right? You need to buy books. You need to enroll in classes. And then what do you need to do? That's probably the hardest of all of that. You need to sit your ASS down and study. You need to sit your ASS down and study. Not just one day, not just 2 days, not just for 1 week, not just for 2 weeks, not just for 3 weeks, You need to study consistently, develop or make a routine and do it as consistently as you possibly can. Most people are not willing to put in that work. Most people are not willing to face themselves, look in the mirror and say, you know what? If you ain't SHIT, admit, say, you know, in this state I ain't SHIT, admit it. Or I'm afraid. Or I need to buy this or I need to buy that. Well, guess what? Guess what? Sometimes you need to sacrifice to get the education to make the improvements in your life. I'm just being straight up with y'all. Or I'm being straight up, and I'm talking from experience. Education comes with great sacrifice, but the hardest thing to do is to sit your ASS down and study on a daily basis, or every other day, or whatever routine you have. That is the most difficult part about it. And if most people could do it, everybody would be very, very highly educated. Well, let me rephrase that. Everyone can do it, but if most people are willing to do it, willing to make the sacrifice, willing to make the sacrifice. See, some people are not willing to give up a pair of Nikes or stilettos or a new bottle of their favorite cologne or perfume, or a night out, you know, drinks and dinner. Some people are not willing to do that and to give that up and to spend that money on buying books. Most people won't do it. All right? So this is what the author is talking about. Most people are not willing to cut other people out of their life, right? Because you're scared. But sometimes you got to look in the mirror and be honest with yourself and say, well, you know what? Yeah, I am afraid that if I let this person go out of my life, I'm going to lose something, right? But that's the case where we're letting our past inhibit or harm our future. Because unless you get that person, those people out of your life, you won't have room for a new person who is an upgrade, right? In terms of what you need psychologically from a relationship or friendship or whatever. Okay? So you have to be strong enough to do these things. Let's continue. Otherwise, your life gonna stay the same. Let's continue. So, as the author says, learning how to behave honorably comes at great cost. And it comes at great effort, rather, and great personal cost. There is also the possibility that, as we learn about these universal principles, we are learning about the career of one about whom history has bequeathed us little more than a name. I think he's talking about JC, the Christ figure, whose life embodied these principles. Y'all hear that? Whose life embodied these principles, these natural law principles of honor. Well, we know that that's not true. That's only true at the level of doctrine. If you're in the inner house, you know that that is not true. In fact, JC was a law breaker. Why do I say that? Why do I say it? People give JC a pass. But JC, didn't he say, what was his exact words? He said, you have heard it said, but now I say, whatever it was, he changed the law. Even though I think this is in one of the first or earlier chapters in Mark and Matthew. He says that he didn't come to change the law, but to complete it, right? Not to change one dot, one thistle or whatever. Okay, now, if y'all are paying attention to detail, Ancient Ibaryath didn't have dots, a Nakud system. So what is he talking about? He's not going to change, as far as what the encyclopedias say. The Nakud system came in during or shortly after Babylonian captivity. So what is he talking about? Ancient Ibaryath doesn't have dots and dashes. Y'all hear me? But yet JC is saying he didn't. He wasn't going to change any dot or thistle. What are you talking about, JC? Let me repeat that. No, I said that wrong. Man, I haven't dealt with this topic in so long. Who was it? Which religious group, y'all, was it that introduced the current biblical Hebrew pictographs and the dots and dashes? I don't remember. It's in the 101 Ancient Ibaryath course. I just don't remember right now, y'all. Y'all go check it. But the dates are off. Okay? The dates are off. Ancient Ibaryath has no dots and no dashes. There's no Nakud system. So if anybody knows the year that the Nakud system was put into play, was added on to the scriptures, in other words, whenever the writing system was changed into biblical Hebrew, I don't remember the date exactly. If y'all remember, put that date in there. So what was JC talking about? Maybe the translators made a mistake. Or maybe they didn't make a mistake. Maybe that's there for those people who are in the inner house to know something without you knowing it. Y'all see what I'm saying? But yes, JC changed the law. Although Moses said that nobody should change the law, and if anybody changed it, they'd be punished, right? But y'all give JC a pass because he said he's God. What did he say? He's God's son. But anyway, y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all go back and check it. Right now, I don't remember. I'm drawing a blank. But anyway, let's continue. Using timeless metaphors drawn from the Zodiac circle, Mark has given us a textbook of the spiritual life, a life lived in harmony with the universe, a life of holiness, wholeness, which can only be attained with great effort and at great personal cost. There is also the possibility that, as we learn about these universal principles, that's natural law. So I already read this. I'm going to stop right there. Okay? So about whom history has bequeathed us a little more than a name, whose life embodied these principles, and who we can call our brother and exemplar. Well, I totally disagree. If you're on the inside of the house, yes, you know the secrets. You know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven. But if you're on the if you're on the outside, you know dogma, and you're getting screwed. Okay, you're not getting nan benefit. You're the farm animal. If you're on the inside of the house, you knew all about discharging debt. You knew about mortgages. You knew all of that kind of stuff long before it became widely known like it is today, right? You can go into the court, do your whatever hand signs, and the colonist or whoever it was acting as a judge would let you off. Okay? Right? But anyway, you had heaven on earth. You were saved. Let's continue. This interpretation is not intended as a reductionist dismissal of JC's story as quote-unquote mere zodiacal myth. In other words, the author is saying, I'm not trying to tear down JC by bringing all of this stuff out. Okay? I'm not trying to show he never lived. That's what he's saying. On the contrary, I consider the Gospel of Mark to be a work of profound spiritual significance. I still don't know what that means, y'all. I mean, you need to believe that you're going to die and go to heaven or hell, right? Or Christ's kingdom is coming on earth in order to make any sense out of this spiritual significant stuff. And even then, it's still ambiguous. Y'all see what I'm saying? But we already know that this idea of a soul, S-O-U-L, that survives death, that goes to heaven or hell or purgatory, we know that that is a Catholic made up thing. Right? We went through that in many videos. The Catholics made that up. Right? That's a moneymaker for the Catholics. In fact, that's why all of y'all are probably Christians, because y'all scared. That's why many people left Zion Law School, because they could not handle the feelings of fear that they felt when I began to disclose information to them that was hidden in English, but clearly or just obvious in your face in the Ancient Ibaryath. And they got scared. That's probably a lot of y'all scared right now. You scared? So you need to accept, you need to have bought in to this idea of the Christian doctrine that the soul escapes or survives death, right? I write as a Christian minister. So the author is a Christian minister. Albeit one of those, let me repeat that, albeit one who has more in common with Valentinus. Now, I don't know anything about this. I'm not formally educated in theology. Okay, so I don't know who this guy is, Valentinus. Then with Irenaeus, and I accept that there is much more to this gospel than my own analysis can account for. Okay, there's an asterisk, so we're going to go to that. While I would want to argue for the objective presence of a zodiacal scheme in Mark, I do not think for one moment that in describing this, we are exhausting all dimensions of meaning within the text. So in other words, the author is saying that there is more meaning in this text, in the book of Mark, than what he knows about. So again, it has a meaning for the people who are outside of the house, right? The doctrine. It has a double meaning and probably a triple meaning. And there's mysteries that he is not even aware of. This is what he's telling you. Okay. After all, a story which for 2 millennia has captured the imagination, that's the story as a gospel, for 2,000 years has captured the imagination. Y'all see that? Captured the imagination. How did it do it? Narrative transportation. Captured the imagination of untold millions, must have the poetic depth to inspire manifold interpretations. Y'all see that? What follows is one of these. So the author is saying, hey, I'm telling you what I know about the astrotheology in the book of Mark, but there's probably other information that you can get from other authors, because he doesn't know it all. All right, so if y'all want to support my work, make sure you enroll in the one-on-one Ancient Ibaryath class. Show up every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can buy my Ancient Ibaryath books. The links are in the description area of this video. And you can also support my project to write the Book of the Law in Ancient Ibaryath and Modern English. Okay, well, I will restore all the natural phenomena and nature or natural law concepts and principles, and I will remove all of the deceit. And if there's enough support, I will include the morphology, the word, how each word is constructed. If y'all want to get an idea, and also the part of speech, so the function of every word in every verse. Okay, so if you want to get an idea of what the book will look like, um, you can buy any of my books. The I Can Read book series, they're purple, or 101 Phoenician Hebrew. You'll see how I have it laid out. That's not going to be the layout, but you'll see at least the information that I'm going to provide for you. Now, if you want to see how to work that, how to use that, you have to come to the 506 The Curses course on Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when I show you how to do the analysis using those books, how to function. I'll teach you how to be a Bible, how to translate the Hebrew scriptures. Islam to all the more. Shalom. I'm Dr. Yasapa. I'll see y'all again soon.